Combining semen retention with the right exercise protocol can significantly increase your testosterone gains. But 90% of guys doing retention think that if they just don't ejaculate and go to the gym, they're good to go. But there's actually a lot more to it than that. I'm gonna go in depth into the mind-body training you need to maximize your semen retention journey. You're not gonna hear this information anywhere else, definitely not in these soulless AI videos that people with zero experience on the subject are pumping out. I'm Jonathan White, and today I'm breaking down the exact protocol that maximizes testosterone when you're practicing semen retention. There's four components I'm going to cover here. First of all, I'm going to cover how the right weight training protocol will maximize your hormonal gains. Then I'm going to break down the important energy circulation practice, which most men will just leave out, that is also equally important to this journey. Then you're going to learn how having non-ejaculatory sex actually supercharges this practice. And finally, I'll get into how a proper meditation practice actually will help support your testosterone levels while keeping you balanced throughout the process. Let's get into it. Make sure you hit subscribe to stay notified when new content like this drops. And if you want to maximize your bedroom performance, make sure you get my free ejaculation control ebook through the link in the video description below. Practicing semen retention is a very powerful way to boost your testosterone and maximize your masculine power, essentially. And just a quick recap to remind you of why it's important to stay on your retention journey is that there's certain hormonal and neurotransmitter changes that happen after you ejaculate. As soon as you've ejaculated, your dopamine levels drop, your testosterone level drops, your serotonin levels raise, your prolactin level also raises. Now it's funny because when it comes to a lot of like modern mainstream medical information about is ejaculation actually harmful for men, they'll say, well, it's not a problem because these changes are very temporary and just a natural part of the refractory period. But it's very obvious that for men, if you're ejaculating every single day, and especially once you reach higher stages of depletion, when your gene starts to run out, these changes become more and more intense and they last longer and longer. Having high levels of serotonin, which happens after ejaculatory orgasm, causes you to feel basically overly content. You tend to feel more emotionally flat and just kind of numbed when you have a high level of serotonin. And this is how a lot of people who take SSRIs feel, antidepressant drugs. They just kind of feel numbed out. Prolactin is also increased. Prolactin is a testosterone inhibiting hormone. So this is why you feel more feminized, more emotional, moody, lazy, fatigued after ejaculating. And this also has an inhibiting effect overall on your dopamine levels, which means you feel less motivated, you feel less driven, you have less drive in your life, and your libido goes away. So when you practice retention, your dopamine level is maximized. Having higher levels of dopamine means you have more drive, you have more ambitiousness, you have higher libido, higher levels of testosterone, obviously. I think that speaks for itself. Serotonin and prolactin tend to stay at lower levels, which is good for your overall mood and your overall ability to feel driven and motivated in life. But of course, as the heart of this video is around what exercise can you do to maximize these gains we're talking about from semen retention, this is where we get more nuanced, all right? So the first thing and the most obvious is weight training. I love weight training personally. I love going to the gym and crushing a workout. Not to mention there's a lot of obvious other benefits that rise from it. Weight training in the right way helps to maximize your testosterone levels. It also gives you a nice healthy dopamine hit because you've accomplished something that you worked hard for, delayed gratification. Getting into full body workouts completely changed the game for me. So I could work out each muscle group, each major muscle group using compound lifts and hit each muscle group 3 times per week. That is what really moved the needle for me in my weight training journey. So basically you're consistently adding weight or reps over time. You're working out the major muscle groups, your legs, you're hitting your glutes, chest, your back, etc. But also not overtraining. Too much exercise can actually drop your testosterone and kill your libido. So for me, probably because I'm doing so many other physical things, I'm doing hours of energy cultivation, martial arts, all these practices every single day. 3 days a week at the gym is optimal for me. Plus I'm absolutely like destroying, I'm cooked after my gym workouts, all right? So if you're not already lifting weights, I highly recommend that you find a local gym and join it because it's great to get out of the house, be in that environment where you're surrounded by dudes who are absolutely juiced, and it inspires you to do a bit better. And that gives you a really great outlet to put your energy into. So weight training covers the physical side, which is the most obvious, but here's what 99% of men aren't doing. When you're adding energy cultivation practices on top of this is the real secret. For me, this is what really gave me the biggest boost in my energy and testosterone. What Qigong does is it opens the energy channels of the body and circulates your energy through them. One of the biggest issues that men run into on semen retention is their energy becomes stuck and stagnant. I mean, think about it. your sexual energy, which you've been expressing in a certain way, that's a certain form of movement for it, but then you stop ejaculating and just hold it in your balls, it can just get stuck and you become stagnant. And this can actually affect your hormone levels as well. By keeping your energy and your sexual energy moving and flowing, it keeps it from getting stuck, and this is how you feel the most driven and motivated on a day-to-day basis. But on another level here, most people in the modern world are just spending their energy recklessly by thinking too much, by spending too much time on a screen. Their awareness is always outside of themselves. They have zero awareness of how they're engaging energetically. So when you practice energy cultivation, you start rebuilding your chi. And this is one of the biggest factors in your overall health and your sexual vitality, which of course is reflected in your testosterone levels. One of the biggest killers of testosterone is stress and overthinking, an overactive monkey mind. And so energy cultivation helps you to balance and harmonize and rebuild yourself from within. In Chinese medicine, specifically understood that the kidney system, which includes the sexual organs, the adrenals, etc. The kidney system is your battery, your sexual battery. When you have low kidney energy, you have low sexual energy, you'll have low testosterone. So practicing Qigong really helps to rebuild your kidney energy, giving you much better overall sexual vitality and of course, higher testosterone. If you want to start using Qigong as a daily practice, check out my power standing guided video. It is the essential foundational practice to start building some Qi. So now let's talk about something that most people don't understand and will never do, but this is one of the secret sauces of the sexual kung fu approach, and that is having non-ejaculatory sex. The whole art of sexual kung fu is sexual energy cultivation. And this branches from a history of training. Thousands of years ago, various Taoist texts were written on sexual practices, sexual techniques to improve virility, libido, sexual health, of course testosterone is a part of that, just overall health and longevity. And fortunately we have access to these today just very openly because these were often very closely guarded secrets in ancient times. It's esoteric shit, but it's just out here on the internet. But how many people are actually practicing it? You know what I mean? We're so busy. So kind of the double-edged sword of the modern times. But one of the biggest themes of sexual cultivation is this concept of having sex, but not ejaculating. So you use sex as a way to build energy and exchange chi, energy, life force with a partner, and then absorb that in the body. Because if you ejaculate, you lose the charge. Now, this may be a brand new concept for some men. And obviously there is some training required here. And this is a major component of what I'm teaching in sexual kung fu. But basically, an important part of the journey for a man is releasing this attachment to ejaculatory orgasm. And you can actually start to have other types of orgasm. You can have non-ejaculatory orgasms. And sex actually becomes vastly more satisfying and fulfilling when you're not ejaculating. And here's the thing, when you're aroused, when you're having sex, all of these hormones, all of these youthful neurotransmitters and chemicals are being released into the bloodstream. It's a very beneficial form of exercise. And so essentially by not ejaculating, of course you're practicing semen retention, but now you're getting all the benefits of having sex. The orgasmic pleasure, the exercise of your endocrine system, the stimulation and arousal of sexual energy, which is in itself an alchemical agent. And personally, what I found was that when I have sex without ejaculating, it energizes me. It stimulates me. I feel very driven, very masculine, very expansive. So you have non-ejaculatory sex for an hour, I mean, even for 20, 30 minutes, and then you go to the gym and crush a workout, just see what happens. See what happens. Now I realize that not everyone's able to have sex. Apparently about 80% of people are not having sex, are sexless. The good news is that with sexual kung fu, you can still use self-pleasure, masturbation, as a way to stimulate your sexual energy. Still benefit from this non-ejaculatory sexual pleasure. Now, obviously, it's not the same as having sex with a partner. The benefits are maximized with a partner. You're getting this yin-yang exchange there. But it's definitely a solid and sustainable way of engaging with your sexual energy, and also makes great training for when you do eventually have a partner. And if you'd like a video that goes in depth into how to sustainably have non-ejaculatory sex while practicing semen retention, let me know in the comments below. Now, there's one thing that I don't hear many people talk about, and it's one of the most important aspects of both testosterone and semen retention, and that is to practice meditation. And I could make many videos just talking about meditation and the cultivation of the mind and the spirit. But here's the basic thing to understand. What I mentioned before, how most people think too much Their brain is too active, their mind is too active. This spends your energy in a comparable way to ejaculation. If you're really overusing your mind, it's too much thinking, too much worrying, it really does dry up your vitality, lowers your testosterone. Again, stress, cortisol. So it doesn't matter if you're doing semen retention, if you are just overly busy in your mind. And another thing that's very important to understand here is that semen retention, it's not for everyone overall, because it's not something that you should do recklessly. When you're building up sexual energy, it acts as an amplifier, and it can overexcite the nervous system if you are not grounded, if your system is not prepared for that extra energy that's brought into it, then it can be overexciting and it can actually agitate your monkey mind. Basically, it tends to just amplify whatever your patterns already are, which is why when you're doing Qigong, you're rewiring your mind and body, you're cultivating your mind and your spirit, and that's where you're amplifying with your sexual energy. You're amplifying harmony, balance, and centeredness. And so this is why meditation is so important, is because you need to be able to empty your mind, to get out of all these external influences, all these random thoughts and worries, and this is what I have to do, and this is what social media is saying today, and just find quietness, stillness. And this actually accomplishes something else. In Taoist practice, there's a concept of stilling the Jing, because our sexual energy is a form of Jing. And Jing likes to move. It gets excited and it wants to leave us. We want to send it out of our bodies. Like, oh, this sex, I want to ejaculate. I want to ejaculate it out. Or there's this TikTok video, I want to spend all day looking at it and sending my energy outward. So the Jing becomes overexcited and it leaves us. With meditation, you practice stilling the mind, quieting the mind, and this starts to still your Jing as well. And this balances your nervous system, and it makes you a lot more resilient. You're a lot calmer. You're more grounded. You can handle the pressure of life without caving in, without going crazy. And this is extremely important as a man in this world, because with semen retention comes power, comes extra energy. And if you can't handle that power, it's going to drive you all over the place and maybe lead you to some places you didn't intend to go. Just important to understand. So a very simple meditation is to simply sit comfortably, relatively comfortably, with a straight spine, and just stop your train of thoughts, essentially. Just start to observe. Put yourself in a mode of observer and notice the thoughts that are running through your mind, and you release them. Instead of focusing on them and letting them drive you to a deeper and deeper train of thought, you start to just observe the thoughts that are rising and let them go. And at the same time, just focus on your breathing. Slow, deep breathing in your lower abdomen, counting your inhale and your exhale, or counting the amount of breaths you're taking. And as soon as you lose count, you start over. Very basic meditation practice. So this will start to calm and center your mind. And everyone in the modern world needs something like this. So when you're doing all these things, when you're practicing semen retention to maximize your hormonal profile and neurotransmitter health, when you're weight training, having some physical exercise to move your body, to engage your body, when you're practicing Qigong, having non-ejaculatory sex, practicing meditation, you're gonna maximize your hormonal levels. Another question you may have is, does semen retention mean I'm supposed to never ever ejaculate, or can I ejaculate periodically? What's the best way to get the benefits of it? And I addressed all this in another video called The Real Semen Retention Timeline, so I highly recommend that you watch that next. You're gonna hear some things you probably haven't heard before, because it's not as simple as giving a single answer that works for everyone. It's a little more nuanced than that. So watch that video and you'll understand exactly how long you should practice semen retention for to get the most benefit from it. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you get the free ejaculation control ebook in the description of this video, and take care out there, my friends.